Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about something that most people are interested in when they're considering moving to Spain, and that is what's actually happening with the Spanish property market right now. Prices, demand, foreign buyers, and what I'm actually seeing firsthand here in southern Spain. Across Spain, house prices have continued to grow both throughout 2025 and into 2026. Nationally, we've seen growth in the high single digits, with some areas even touching double digits. Now, through my research, from what I can see, it seems that the average house price in Spain is now roughly 2,100 to 2,300 euros per square metre, depending on the index. But I think that average is hiding something important, and that is that Spain doesn't have one property market. It's got dozens of micro markets. So what's driving the market currently? Well, from what I can see, there's several key reasons. One is limited housing supply. The second is strong domestic demand. The third is continued foreign buyer interest. And the fourth is relatively stable mortgage conditions. Foreign buyers are still accounting for around 20% of the total purchases nationally. And in lifestyle areas, that percentage I think is even higher. So Spain is still very much on the radar internationally. Now, one of the other things I've noticed when I've been researching is that in places like Madrid, Barcelona, Malaga, and the Balearics, prices are significantly higher than the national average. In parts of the Costa del Sol, you're even looking at between 4,000 and 6,000 euros per square metre, and even more than that in prime locations. Now, those are very competitive markets. They're fast moving and heavily influenced by international demand. But I don't think that's the whole story. Now, I live in a small whitewashed Spanish village which sits inland from the Costa del Sol, but still close enough to feel the influence. But here it very much has its own market. And this is where things get interesting, because officially inland Spain is supposed to be slower, more stable and more gradual. But honestly, that's not what I'm seeing here at the moment. In the past 6 months alone, prices in this village have risen noticeably. Now, what I'm seeing inland is that properties that would have been listed here just a few months ago at one level are now coming to the market with significantly higher prices, and they're moving. And that's not something that people would expect from a small inland village. But when something good comes up, especially if it's been renovated, it's got nice views, it's got a good outdoor space, and it's within walking distance of the village centre, it's not hanging around. So this is really interesting to see from here on the ground, because I think what that's telling us is that because the property prices on the coast have gotten so high, people are slowly starting to come inland now. So I think there's a few things coming into play here. I think, first of all, people are being priced out of the coast and are looking for those properties that are 30 or 40 minutes inland. Remote work is obviously still a factor, because now people can work from home. Inland properties are becoming a lot more attractive. And then, of course, you've got word of mouth and social media. Both of these are exposing villages to a far wider audience. And then when we compare coastal prices to these inland prices, it just feels such good value. So if someone can't justify 5,000 euros per square metre on the coast, but can find something in an inland village for, say, 12 to 1,800 euros, depending on the property, it suddenly starts making a lot of sense. So what about renting versus buying? Well, I think in the big cities and the coastal areas, rental prices have climbed so sharply that it's pushing more and more people to consider buying. For example, here inland in the village where I live, the rental market is extremely small, and most buyers are buying to live, not to flip. So that makes it more of a lifestyle driven market, and lifestyle markets can then start moving very quickly once they're discovered. Now, while I was researching the data for this video, national forecasts suggest continued growth in 2026, but likely slower than the surge that we saw post-pandemic. Now, the data is suggesting that maybe a 5 to 7% increase nationally rather than double-digit growth. But these micro markets that I mentioned earlier don't move in sync. Right now, here where I live inland, it feels very active, not speculative, but active. And I think we're in that phase where quality inland villages close to the coast are starting to be properly recognised. So here's my honest view. Coastal and city markets are expensive and competitive. Inland villages are no longer the hidden secrets that I think they once were. Prices in these inland villages has clearly stepped up, especially over the last 6 months. But compared to the coast, there is still a significant value gap. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that inland villages will become the next Marbella, but I do think the gap between the coast and quality inland villages will continue to narrow. So I'd love to hear from you. Are you looking at coastal Spain, cities or inland villages, or what's your take simply on the Spanish property market at the moment? Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a like and also hit that hype button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe as well. It's absolutely free to do. It won't cost you a penny, but it really helps this channel to continue to grow. Anyway, enjoy whatever you're doing for the rest of the day, and I'll catch you in the next one.